something big is happening out in the Māori seats at the moment. Te Pāti Māori would come in with 5 seats right now.
It could be a record year for Te Pāti Māori, couldn't it? Amazing stuff.
Some jubilant celebrations. It's going to be a hell of a night for Te Pāti Māori tonight.
It was the ultimate comeback.
They're ahead in all but one of the Māori seats right now. It is an astonishing result.
In 2023, Te Pāti Māori returned from the political wilderness to centre stage.
Really elated that we've got this result.
Winning 6 of the 7 Māori seats.
We're extremely excited and humbled by the support that we see coming out for Te Pāti Māori and our electorate seats.
It was a proud moment. It was a proud moment.
In 2024, they stood at the forefront of one of Aotearoa's largest ever protests, calling out ACT's Treaty Principles Bill and putting Māori resistance on the world stage. But just months after the tragic loss of MP Takutai Tash Kemp, Te Pāti Māori is in meltdown.
What's your response to allegations of the dictatorship model?
Kia ora, Mikey, thank you. You first
yeah.
can thank Mikey for that one. Kia ora. Kia ora.
Deeply divided, rocked by controversy and consumed by bitter disputes.
Last night, the National Council of Te Pāti Māori, made up of the elected electorate representatives, resolved without opposition to expel Maria Mino Kapakingi and Tāku Te Wheres from Te Pāti Māori for serious breaches of our kawa, of our constitution.
Now, former party insiders step forward to reveal what they say are long-standing tensions behind the scenes.
One of the things that held Te Pāti Māori in good stead for a long time was that they did keep their dramas out of the public domain, but that then, I think, masked the fact that there were very real internal tensions, and those tensions are now playing out.
There's a particular style of leadership that is inconsistent with the principles of the party.
E tipu e rea mo ngā rautoa arahina tō iwi e.
So what does it mean for the party that carried the hopes of so many whānau across Aotearoa?
Is this the end of this iteration of Te Pāti Māori?
I don't know where things can go from here and how they can bounce back.
You know, the real winners of this, politically, are this anti-Māori government. Like, Te Pāti Māori is really just shooting themselves in the foot.
And we reveal the results of a special poll showing how this crisis has impacted the views of Māori voters and who they think should lead the party. When Te Pāti Māori returned to Parliament, it promised to champion the needs and aspirations of whānau Māori. Instead, its internal ruptures threatened to destroy the movement it helped to revive. So how did it go so wrong? And with an election looming, what lessons can be learnt for future Māori political movements? Ka te rohia e mata. Jack Tautōkai MacDonald is Te Pāti Māori's former policy director, a past Green candidate and staffer. He took on his role with Te Pāti Māori in 2020, inspired by Debbie Ngarewa Paka's fight against seabed mining in Taranaki.
I think that Te Pāti Māori have been able to do a lot of amazing work since they got back into Parliament in 2020. They've inspired a whole new generation of rangatahi to get involved in the political process, to actually see themselves represented in the halls of power, bringing te reo and tikanga to the heart of the parliamentary system.
Before they hung our tipuna mokoboko, he uttered the words, "Tango hia te taura I taku kaki, kia waiata au I taku waiata. Tango hia te taura I taku kaki, kia waiata au I taku waiata."
And so that has been a really fantastic thing, but I feel like that is now all at risk because of the debacle over the last few months. And, you know, I think that increasingly they're betraying the hopes and aspirations of those who put them there, the voters who put their faith in them because of all of this drama.
How so? How are they putting all of that at risk?
Because essentially the movement is now at risk. The movement is at risk as a serious political force. You know, just 2 months ago, the party was at its most successful point that it had ever been. You know, it was the highest that it had ever been in the polls. It had 6 of the Māori seats, and it seemed like the party was in the perfect position to go into the next election and then be in a prime position to help form the next government. I've never seen such a turnaround, you know, in just 2 months, going from that position of strength to being in this complete shambles.
So how did the shambles begin? Let's recap. On 5 June, co-leaders Debingari Wapeka and Rawiri Waititi receive a 3-week suspension for their haka protest. On 26 June, tragedy strikes. Tāmaki Makaurau MP Takutai Tash Kemp dies unexpectedly.
Runs through my blood just like my tupuna.
On 3 September, Te Taitonga MP Tākuta Ferris sparks backlash with a post criticising Labour's use of tauiwi campaigners. 3 days later, Orini Kaipara wins the Tāmaki Makaurau by-election in a landslide victory against Labour's Peni Henare. By 11 September, Mariameno Kapakingi is removed as party whip and told to refocus on her electorate. On 2 October, Toetu Te Tiriti cuts ties with Te Pāti Māori. Eru Kapakingi resigns his party role, alleging dictatorial leadership.
Describing party president John Tamahiri.
On 9 October, following Orini Kaipara's maiden speech, the co-leaders attempt to steady the waka, announcing a reset. 5 days later, members receive an email alleging a budget blowout linked to Kapakingi and a serious complaint against her son, Eru. On 2 November, Te Taitonga's electorate committee calls for President John Tamihiri to step down. The next evening, Tamihiri accuses Kapakingi and Ferris of plotting a leadership coup on social media, a claim they deny. 9 November, both Kapakingi and Ferris are expelled from the party despite calls for a truce and a hui by iwi leaders. Later in the month, party leaders declined to attend a Tai Tokerau hui, citing advice from unnamed sources. Then on 7 December, just days after Kapakingi won a High Court interim order restoring her membership, Te Pāti Māori holds its AGM in Wairiki, where Tamihiri's presidency is questioned.
Would you be willing to stand down if it meant unity for Te Pāti Māori?
Well, I'll stand down if there's a good reason to stand down. If it's a reason that a few people don't like me, that doesn't cut the mustard.
During this turmoil, 2 significant pieces of legislation were passed into law. Acts, Regulatory Standards Bill and amendments to MACA, the Marine and Coastal Areas Act.
Was there legislation that had actively extinguished that Māori rights before 2004? And the answer was no, there was not.
The amendments raising the legal threshold, making it harder for iwi rights to be recognised in law.
Did they drop the ball on MACA?
I think they have. I think they undeniably have dropped the ball on MACA, and that's as a result of, you know, being more focused on this these internal dynamics. And, you know, I think there has been a fundamental failure of political management. You know, every party goes through its own dramas, but the ability to deal with that is what matters. And I think the buck needs to stop with the leadership in terms of political management. And, you know, I think the political management has been severely lacking.
Also lacking, according to McDonald, are the transparent processes required to undertake the basics of running a political party.
And so if you think about list ranking, for example, John Tamihiri in his attack on Mariameno and Takuta mentioned list ranking, and I was involved in discussions that were basically deciding who the list would be behind closed doors and then getting the National Council to approve that. So there wasn't any opportunity for a grassroots member of Te Pāti Māori to say, actually, this is who I think should be high on the list. And so if those severe issues with process exist, there's no wonder that it's going to build resentment among certain parts of the party if they're not put at a certain place on the list. If there's an agreed process that everyone knows about, then if you don't get as high as you want to, then at least you can understand that that came about as a result of a democratic decision, not just because of what a few people at the top think.
And those list ranking discussions were led by?
They were led by the president and the general manager and the co-leaders.
John Tamihere, Kiri Tamihere, Deb and Rawiri Waititi.
Yeah, definitely for the conversations that I was involved in.
Can you describe the dynamics you witnessed in the party?
I think that unfortunately the current Pāti Māori, there are some serious issues. And one is that there is a concentration of power and there is a severe lack of democratic process in the party. So when the party got back into power in 2020, a small group of people was able to basically revive the party, and I give them all credit for that. John Tamihere came in as a co-leader alongside Debbie and then went on to be the president. Rawiri Waititi obviously revived the party electorally in Waiariki, and that was how they were able to get back into parliament. And they did a phenomenal job. And, I think where the issue has been is the failure to then basically establish the processes to grow a broad-based inclusive movement, because you can't have a small group of people running an entire political party, especially when 3 of the 4 people in that small group are all from the same immediate whānau. And I think that's partly why we're seeing the drama that's unfolding right now.
The drama is being closely watched by Amokura Pānoho, a founding member of the Māori Party.
You've been part of the Māori Party right from the beginning. What was the intent when it was first formed?
It was always about having an independent, collective voice for Māori in the political realm, whether it is just in Parliament as part of the opposition or in government. That was always the aspiration. And essentially that came about because of what was seen as the betrayal by Labour with the foreshore and seabed. I mean, that's how the Māori Party emerged when we realised that they were not, when it came to the crunch, we would always become political fodder or collateral that they could toss out when it suited them.
When the Māori Party was formed in 2004, its constitution was designed to give power back to Māori communities and to hold the party accountable to its members. But Pānoho says under the current leadership, that framework has shifted power.
You had some incredible Māori intellectual heavyweights that contributed to that constitution, the likes of Uncle Moana Jackson, for example, and Matua Whatarangi, of course. And so the whole point around the constitution is how would it integrate and represent those values, and that's why those principles, the tikanga that was established, weren't about just being words on a paper. They were the values by which we were expected to not only reflect the political aspirations of our people, but how we would behave. Unfortunately, with the changes to the Constitution that happened in 2023, that authority, that mana motuhake, was changed so that it moved to the party infrastructure of what's been now recognised as the Executive Council. And the role of the President has become very authoritarian now within the new constitutional process.
What are the changes that have been made to the Constitution since 2023?
Unbeknownst to a number of us, the early founders, these constitutional changes had happened where rather than the authority being with the members, it had moved to an executive led by the President, chaired by the President, and the co-leaders and the General Secretary and the Secretary of the party. And that is a significant change from what was the intent. You'll see a definite shift in authority and And I think that that's concerning, and it has led to a lot of the conflict that we have watched unfold.
John Tamahiri was heading out of the country today, and maybe just as well. He accepts his comments won't be widely welcomed by his own people. He wants Pākehā New Zealanders to know title to the seabed and foreshore will never go to Māori alone.
Two wrongs don't make a right. We're in this canoe called New Zealand together, and we ain't turfing anyone out.
The Māori Party was set up because many Māori felt let down by the Labour government and its Labour Māori MPs when they voted for the foreshore and seabed. Is it an irony that 20 years later, John Tamahiri is the party president?
It's a cruel irony.
It's particularly cruel for Pāho because of her history with John Tamahiri.
Labour Cabinet MP John Tamahiri is not only conceding he supplied the information which led to Amakura Panaho's decision to quit, but he has no regrets.
When a Labour MP, Tamahiri accused Pāho of using her position at the Department of Labour to pressure staff to join the Māori Party. She sued for defamation and won.
What was that experience like for you?
I've never talked about it. It was difficult. You know, I had worked with an incredible group of people that I was leading. We were doing really important work. To have the rug pulled out from under me at that time, you know, wasn't just a reflection on me, but also all the people who had helped me on my journey to that leadership role. The thing I think that really, apart from the toll it took on my family, to have that scrutiny, was for my uncle, Sir Jackson, who was quite unwell and going through treatment with leukemia. And he got on the plane and flew to Wellington to represent me in my negotiations with the Department of Labour. I think that for me really was probably one of the most painful parts of that whole process.
And after an election's done, you should not be penalised for it.
In a recent online article, Pāho called for Tamahiri to resign. She says it's not personal, but she does see parallels between the current crisis and her own experiences of his behaviour.
I think he's become very comfortable with that way of operating and to degrees been enabled. And so I suppose in a way that's why I felt motivated to kind of continue articulating that because of that behaviour, that is not what we are about. That's not what the Māori Party is about. We're about the kaupapa. Please don't lose sight of the fact that the changes to the Constitution have enabled a bit of a takeover of the Māori Party kaupapa. But the Māori Party kaupapa is worth fighting for. It is absolutely worth fighting for.
We asked John Tamahiri to be interviewed for this story, but he declined.
Last month, expelled MP Tākuta Ferris made allegations about Mr Tamahiri and other senior party figures in an interview with Mata. We sought comment from Mr Tamahiri, and again he declined, saying he wouldn't comment on hearsay, innuendo, accusation or insinuation.
Meanwhile, McDonald says the party should focus on the needs of whānau Māori.
So right now, our people are facing an onslaught from this government. They've reconfiscated the foreshore and seabed. They're trying to remove treaty clauses from legislation across the board. They're undermining the Waitangi Tribunal. They're attacking workers' rights. They're entrenching poverty for many communities. They're opening up oil drilling. Like, you know, all of these issues that we elect Māori representatives to fight against, Te Pāti Māori is missing in action. And that is a real shame. It's more than a shame, it's actually an abdication of responsibility that Māori politicians have, and it's a failure of leadership in a severe way. And I think the longer this drags out, the more disappointing it is. And, you know, I personally think all of the Te Pāti Māori leaders and MPs need to pull their heads in, get around a table and sort this out.
The breakdown between the leadership and MPs isn't the only challenge facing the party.
Political scientist Dr. Lara Greaves says the split with Toitu Te Tiriti will have a significant impact.
Fundamentally, as a political scientist, I just never expected there to be hundreds of thousands of people putting in a submission to any law at any time. Like, if you had told me that years ago, I would go, nah, no way. You're never going to get hundreds of thousands of people doing this. We saw like hundreds of thousands of people who'd never made a submission make a submission on the Treaty Principles Bill or the Regulatory Standards Bill, or both. And now some of them are keeping going around the place and making submissions and are like liking participation, might be going on hikoe or like signing petitions or whatever it is, but they're doing things, they're more politically active. This kind of split between Toitu Te Tiriti and Te Pāti Māori means that there's like perhaps some of that momentum lost. I mean, because where do you then channel that? Whereas before, Te Pāti Māori would have been the perfect platform.
How might this affect its ability to mobilise support, particularly with rangatahi?
One of the big things around rangatahi Māori, younger Māori voters, is Te Pāti Māori have done very well at mobilising them, getting them out to vote, because that's been a big challenge, is to try to get young Māori to like care about the Westminster colonial political system, which is quite hard to like see yourself in necessarily. It's hard to motivate people to come out to vote when you see all of this drama. I mean, I can't necessarily see people feeling hopeful and positive about the future in Te Pāti Māori at this point in time, and especially for those younger Māori voters who looked up to Te Pāti Māori, who enjoyed their content or enjoy their content, who like their fits, who like the way that they style themselves and the way they carry themselves. So it's probably quite disappointing for a lot of young voters and potentially leads to them either not voting or not supporting them going forward.
As a political scientist, what are the big takeaways for you?
For me, the big takeaway is the way that social media has changed our democracy, because of the fact that you can just pick something up and write a Facebook post or do whatever it is, and you do have that power to put your Instagram story up as an MP, and that is going to create, points of drama straight off the bat and in the media. So that's been a big one for me. The other things are kind of like how disappointing this is. This is really disappointing as a political scientist and as an Indigenous political scientist to have to even say today to a group of like Indigenous academics, well, guess what? Like our Māori political party is falling apart. I think a lot of Indigenous people around the world, and we've seen this with the attacks on Te Tiriti, look to Aotearoa and say, wow, like, they've got some good stuff there. What are some lessons from there? Like, what are some gains they've made and how have they done it? In this case, Te Pāti Māori were like the most successful Indigenous party in the world. But to see this happen and see this rupture happen and happen in such a spectacular, messy fashion, it's pretty disappointing.
The lesson that I take from it is that we need a Māori political movement that is grounded in kaupapa and that has ideological consistency, to be perfectly honest. Like, what our political leaders should be pursuing is obviously the realisation of our tino rangatiratanga through constitutional transformation, but also the eradication of poverty and the lifting of material living conditions for working class Māori. Those things need to go hand in hand, and that needs to be the basis for who we elect as our leaders. It actually needs to be who is there, who has the skills and the experiences to relentlessly pursue tino rangatiratanga and the eradication of poverty and deprivation for tangata whenua.
We wanted to know how Māori voters viewed this crisis, whether it might change their vote at the next election, and who they think should lead the party. So we commissioned a special Mata Horizon research poll for Māori voters, and we asked,
overall, do you think Te Pāti Māori is heading in the right direction or wrong direction? 47% wrong direction, 33% right direction, and 20% don't know. How important are the recent Te Pāti Māori problems in deciding your vote? 67% very important or somewhat important, 27% not very important or not at all important, and 6% don't know. How much trust do you have in Te Pāti Māori's current leadership team? 44% a lot or some, 47% not much or none, 9% don't know.
Who would you prefer to lead Te Pāti Māori? 19% Hana Rāwhiti Maipi Clark, 12% Rawiri Waititi, 11% Tākuta Ferris, 7% Debbie Ngārewa Paka, 6% Maria Meno Kapakengi, 5% John Tamihere, 3% Oreni Kaipara, and 37% don't know or other.
We are the sovereign people of this land and the world is watching us here.
With still no clear path to resolution, the consequences of this crisis remain to be seen. But Amokura Pānoho still has hope for the party she helped build.
The Māori Party was born through courage. If we return to honesty, integrity and collective leadership, our movement will recover its mana. My job has been, in terms of talking through these issues with you today, is to help steady the kaupapa so that our young ones can come along, pick up the hoi, and take our waka forward.
In January 2025, the matriarch of the Māori Party waka, Dame Tariana Turia, passed away. Pānoho believes while she would be deeply disappointed with the current turmoil, she wouldn't give up the fight.
I know she would be hurt, possibly angry. She definitely let you know when she didn't agree with you. And I think that she would expect us to not take it. She would expect us to stand up and reclaim the party for what she gifted us.
What wisdom can be taken from Dame Tariana Turia's lessons right now?
To have the courage to fight the fight, to reclaim what is ours, and that is about being proud to be Māori. And the Māori Party, its kaupapa was always about being an independent political voice in government that represents the interest of our people. She would expect us to go and fight for that.
E tipu e rea mo ngā rao toa o arahina tō iwi e. Tō ngā kau ki ngā taonga o tipuna, tō wairua ki te ariki. Kia koutou katoa e te rangatahi, te oranga mo te ao katoa. Kia mau, kia kaha pupuritia, te mana o te ariki. Because you're magic people to me. You're magic people to me. Hold your head up high, let your voices fly. I'm proud to be Māori. Because you're magic people to me. You're magic people to me. Hold your head up high, let your voices fly. I'm proud to be Māori. Proud to be Māori. Proud to be Māori. Well done. Ko te reo, te take.